What a mess. Complete mess.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Good Wednesday evening to you. Phil West, former executive director of Common Cause, is my guest tonight. He has an issue that we were planning on discussing that has nothing to do with this Providence education thing, which I have a few things to say about. We'll check in with Phil to see any citizen ought to have a comment on what's going on in Providence right now. But Phil's got a little thing going on with the editorial opinion of the Providence Journal on some things that the Secretary of State is doing regarding the data that is available to the world from the registration list, the voter registration list, and also he has some thoughts on DCYF. So we have an action-packed show here this evening. Come on, man. Look at this headline here. Oh, state and city leaders react gravely, promise action after Providence school report. Everyone now goes to acting school. Everybody's going to acting school. Here's how it all started early in the evening.
The 93-page report paints a dark picture of the city's schools. The researchers went inside classrooms of a dozen schools, which they do not name, coming out with this stunning observation. Quote, very little visible student learning was going on in the majority of classrooms and schools we visited. In one example, in an English language arts class, they saw no authentic reading. The researchers were disturbed by the condition of the school buildings, writing, quote, the worst reduced seasoned members of the review team to tears. A team member observed at one school, quote, the smell of stale urine in the physical therapy room was so strong I had to hold my breath.
I actually was sick after I finished reading the report.
Would you allow your child to attend a Providence public school?
No. Very clearly, no.
Rhode Island's new education commissioner, Angelica Infante Green, requested the review in light of Providence's abysmally low test scores.
It's completely and totally unacceptable. And that we've allowed it to go on for so long is criminal, really.
Providence Mayor Jorge Lorza said in part, quote, this report paints a grim, concerning picture of our school district. We need wholesale transformational change, and I look forward to working with state partners, teachers, parents, and students to accomplish it. It's unclear whether the state will ultimately take over the Providence School District. Infante Green said this.
I have been pretty clear that if the conversations don't lead to better instruction, support in the classroom, then I'm not having it.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean, Commissioner? I'm bullish on this. I was not bullish on the process that brought her here, but my instinct is that she's got all the right stuff. She does. But note to Commissioner, if you play the status quo game and you say all the things just up to the fringe that need to be said, but don't say the things that you really think, we're going to have a real problem around here. It's going to mean perpetual failure. This notion that the leaders of the community are now saying things in response to this is interesting. They all have their prepackaged thoughts. Mayor Alorza is the criminal. The commissioner said it was criminal. You name me an organization of any kind that has this kind of scathing review where the CEO doesn't say, first, I'm so sorry. Second, I am responsible. Third, I need to do something. Fourth, get out of the way. Fifth, I resign. You name me one. Let me switch you up, Jess. Put a headline up. This is the DMV headline. Nope, the DMV headline. I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry. This is the DMV headline from Massachusetts today. A young man allegedly killed 7 or 8 bikers the other day. He's a Massachusetts kid. And his registration should never have been contemporary, current. He should never have been on the road. The Massachusetts DMV director resigned. Left. Had to. That's taking responsibility. Now you say, oh, well, an elected mayor is not going to resign. You know what? They got to carve him out they have to do a state takeover of some form. The mayoral administration and the city council, and to a large extent the school committee in the city of Providence, all need to get the hell out of the way, because they have shown that they don't get it. They sat on this. By the way, if I'm the mayor of the city of Providence and I read this report, you know what I was doing? You know what I'd be doing today? I'd be putting my work boots on, chasing rodents out of elementary schools, personally, with whatever plumber, roto-rooter, or spray guy I could find. This is garbage. Here was more of it at the State House today.
The report showed me it's much worse than I realized. It's beyond just low test scores. It's the basics that teachers and educators and students don't even feel safe in their schools.
We need to get to the core of the challenges. We need transformational change in the Providence Public School Department.
We can feel guilt. It's not a bad emotion, but it's got to be coupled with action.
There's no guilt. By the way, the DMV head was from Connecticut because he was supposed to have a registration ixnayed, and you get my point. A leader of an organization who feels responsible for that tragedy resigned. You don't think this is a tragedy? You don't think the idea that 90% of the kids in Providence aren't learning isn't a tragedy? You don't think that they don't feel safe isn't a tragedy? You don't think that rodents are running around and asbestos is falling from ceilings, and you don't think that's a tragedy? So look, if we're going to role play here and we're going to do here's the classic. Nobody ought to be pointing fingers. We all ought to lock together and fix this. That's garbage. This is not a rating speech that I'm making. This is a leadership speech that I'm making. You have failed. You must go. And it'll be a signal to anybody else up and down the system who does not comply with what is the consensus strategy to resolve this thing. They got to go. Go! Instead, you get dingbats like this. Look at this tweet from Sabina Matos. She's the counselor in Providence, the city councilor in Providence, who calls it a wake-up call. There's the cliche I was looking for. I responded last night saying, you know what? The sad thing is, if Jorge Alorza ever does the right thing and quits, she's next up. It's not a wake-up call. When you're 25 pounds overweight, and the doctor says, hey, Dan, maybe less salt and blah, blah, blah. Because, anything else, that's a wake-up call. When you're on the gurney in the emergency room, that's not a wake-up call. There's no wake-up calls here. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Parent meetings, I can't wait. I can't wait to attend these parent meetings. I can't wait. I can't wait to finally see the angry, legitimately angry citizens screaming, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. What the solutions are, I'm ready for the leadership. But the first solution is to get the garbage out of the way, which is the current leadership. The executive director of Common Cause is Phil West. Former. Thank you. I'm a little revved up. Your own independent thought on this? I mean, you were always a public commentator. We've got other things you want to talk about tonight, but do you have any thought on this mess?
Well, Dan, I'm heartbroken about this report, but nothing in it surprises me from what I've seen.
Nor does it surprise anybody else who's now play acting on this.
That said, I think that your calls for everybody to resign is not on point, because these are the elected people who have responsibility to find an answer. And the answers are
But say everybody had to resign?
What happens if everybody resigns? Who rules the streets then?
Wait a second. You think the mayor of this city should have any leadership discretion over those schools right now? What happened in Lawrence, Massachusetts when they cleaned that joint out? They said, you know what? Everybody on the city side, get out of the way. We're coming in and we're running this whole thing.
I think your comment before, Dan, about carving the city schools out and having the state take them over is the right approach.
Yeah.
And the problem is...
Well, he should be smart enough to resign, Phil, but if he's not, he has to be moved out of the way.
Well,
he can't have a single thing to do with the leadership of that school system anymore.
And Dan, I'm agreeing with you to carve it out, but I'm not saying he should resign.
All right, whatever.
So,
you know what, whatever. Fine. You know what? I'm sick and tired of the role playing and the gamesmanship and everything in the status quo. Everything's got to be fixed within a little bit of fringe behavior.
Yeah, but
everything's just, that's really not the, you're just a hothead on the television, blah, 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 blah. He has been the custodian of that system for 4.5 years, Phil, and there are rats in the schools. I talked to a parent today. His second grader comes home and says, Daddy, there are rats in my schools. He says, I'm sorry, son, I do not know what to do.
I want to tell you how hard it is to get rid of rats in your house. And I used to live on the south side of Providence until 1.5 years ago. These are not simple things. And Rhode Island, unlike Massachusetts, has no guarantee of education for every child, and we should. So there's a constitutional amendment.
You know what? That's the kind of institutional pressure that I agree we need to put on.
It needs to be there.
I'm sorry.
The whole state is responsible
You know what?
for
You're
this.
right. I'm wrong. You're right.
I didn't say you're
wrong.
wrong.
You know what? It's too hard to get rats out of the schools, Phil. It's too hard. You're right.
It takes money.
It's very difficult.
It takes money, Dan.
It takes someone who stands on his head and says, I won't have it. It's not new news to the mayor of this city that there are rats in his school. It's not new that there's asbestos falling from the ceiling. The capital improvement program that he put on was half the whole way. The guy has not been a leader and advocate. He's not been precise in understanding what the problems. If you put people into a pig pen, they'll behave like pigs.
That's true.
If you put people into a nice facility, they will see that they've been respected and they will learn.
And if you have money, you can have a nice facility. And the tragic thing is that Providence is broke, and there are lots of reasons for that go to the union contracts and a bunch of other things that have left the schools with too little money and too much corruption.
That stuff is
structure.
all legitimate. There is so much that has to be done. But if you're telling me that you can name a significant organization, public, private, stock held, or otherwise, whose CEO remains after a scathing report of that or is in charge after a scathing report like that, he doesn't owe me money. I didn't wake up this morning or 10 years ago saying, I want to go get Jorge Elorza. That guy is unable to see the forest through the trees, from the trees, or whatever the hell that phrase is. And unless and until the message is sent, this commissioner has nothing to lose by coming in there and saying, you know what, not for nothing, I can't play the status quo game. He's got to go, because I need elbow room.
Your original suggestion of carving out the Providence schools as they did the Central Falls schools is the right way to go. Have the state take over the schools in Providence.
We may have to double book Phil because he's here for other reasons. We'll be right back. Wake-up call. All righty. What's the problem? What is the problem here? The registration of data that exists has been affected by technology and the pressures of technology. You have two arguments you want to make. Phil was on the radio show last week and he was explaining this whole situation. Tell everybody what your gripe is right now with what's going on with the Secretary of State's office and how the Providence Journal has kind of muscled them a little bit, because I know that's part of your concern.
Well, the first thing is that technology, particularly the internet, has vastly changed the way we communicate and the way crimes are committed around the world. And Nellie Gorbea, Secretary of State, has been trying to respond to the Providence Journal's demand to have the full voter list of all 790,000 voters in the state of Rhode Island made public with all kinds of detail, including birth dates. She has resisted that, and so the Providence Journal, Paul Edward Parker was the investigative reporter who went after this. The Providence Journal filed a public records complaint with the Attorney General. The Attorney General, his office went through and came up with what I think is a pretty convincing, and I don't always agree with the Attorney General, but came up with a pretty convincing 15-page, tightly reasoned report saying correctly, in Rhode Island's access to public records law, we have a balancing test which balances the public's right to know against the individual's right to privacy. And those
and the privacy issue, you're worried about data mining. You're worried about
I'm worried about data mining.
You're worried about people's birth dates being and their credit being and their financial package being infiltrated by criminals. You know, that information being passed along, and you think right now that the technology has surpassed the process that has been available right now. So you want to protect Nellie wants to protect birth dates, and so do you.
That's right.
Right.
But she tried to do it by saying not that the journal couldn't see them, but only that they had to see them in a computer at the Secretary of State's office. That way they could look at it. This report from the Attorney General said the Providence Journal's request for all 799,000 or whatever it is, 790,000 records was overbroad because it's less than 1% where there are duplicate names where the birth dates would be necessary. To sort that out. So by asking for all of them to be dumped into public, where hackers and people with clever algorithms could mesh them with other kinds of data that's publicly available, and then produce the kinds of documents that would allow criminals to go to banks and credit card companies and so on, and say, I'm Dan York.
But she has a reasonable debate with people like Ken Block, a government watchdog, who says, hey, listen, the cat's out of the bag, those birth dates are out there. You know, people who use this data can offer, at least the official people who use this data can do non-disclosure agreements and promise not to pass it along. Let's say this: there is a respectful disagreement between Ken and the Secretary of State and you about this kind of stuff. And reasonable people can work together to kind of get some solutions. But you've been bothered by how the Journal has characterized the Secretary of State's efforts here, correct?
Before we get there, let me go back to Ken Block for a minute.
Real quick.
Because what he's talking about is a non-disclosure agreement. There's nothing in the public records law that allows selective release to certain people. And her answer to that problem is to say, look, Ken Block, Paul Edward Parker, come into the Secretary of State's office. We've got the computer set up. You can sort everything you want to sort. You can see birth dates. And that's all you need. And if there are duplicates, you can find them. So that's it.
Yeah,
so now, let me go back to Ed Acorn.
I think she's been real reasonable about this whole thing, and I think your argument is too. You know, Phil took out on Ed Acorn on the radio show. I asked Ed to participate. I told Ed he could join this. Ed is the executive editor of the Providence Journal's editorial pages. He's been whacking her pretty hard. We have a headline as an example. What is your problem with the paper's characterization of the Secretary of State?
Because he's attributing bad motives to her, and I don't think that's what it's about. Let me just read.
What would the bad motives
Let
be?
me just read what some of the things he's written.
Real quick.
Because this is it. So here's 5 things. He belittled her efforts to protect these records by saying that she is substituting, his words now, her personal whims for the clear meaning of the law. That's just wrong. Second, he has accused her of having disdain for the people's right to get information about their government. That's wrong. He's characterized her as believing that she has, quote, unilateral authority to rewrite the laws and deny the public access. That's wrong. He says that she has substituted his words, her personal whims for the clear meaning of the law. So I'm troubled when the editor of the Providence Journal, the editorial pages editor, is putting that in print and then not letting her answer. So she tried to answer, and you've seen the emails back and forth. He says, well, if you do this, and if you do this, and if you do this, then I'll publish it.
It is clear to me that the editorial pages editor has been trying to abridge the First Amendment freedom of speech of the Secretary of State. She has submitted X number of editorials, and he has either demanded change or didn't print.
Right.
Which is something that behind the scenes I've heard about on too many newsmaker occasions. People of position in the community who want to say something, and it's like, why don't you say it this way? That's not, listen, they're a private organization too. Well, they're they got stockholders, but we're not expecting that from our major daily newspaper.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's problematic. I don't know what else to say about that other than that the Secretary of State just has to do her thing and find other ways.
But the problem, Dan, is when you put out stuff like that and keep putting it out again and again and again and just dumping it in little paragraphs, it casts real aspersions. There's an old story, I think it comes from the Talmud. Can I give you about a rabbi who knew that there was a man in his town who was going around and was bad-mouthing him about everything. And finally, for one reason or another, the man comes to the rabbi and says, maybe I was wrong. What shall I do? And the rabbi takes the pillow and he cuts the top and he says, now I want you to take this and you go out and you put these feathers all around the town, wherever you have told this story. And the man does that and he comes back. And he says, now, Rabbi, am I absolved? And he says, no. Go back and pick up the feathers. The point is, once you put false, slanderous information out there, you really do damage to a person's reputation. That's part of what I'm troubled about, and I know that it's happened with others. And I fully expect that the Providence Journal will be tough on every politician, as I know you are. And that's just right. But at the same time, you've got to give them a chance to reply.
All right. I guess there's another example of that. I don't know how much time we have to dig into it, but we'll give it a shot. Stay with us. We don't have much time, but you say the same kind of games played on the DCYF issue by the Journal?
No, not by the Journal, but the DCYF is a mess. Has been for a long time.
Oh, I thought you had an op-ed problem with the Journal.
My wife sent in an op-ed. She's the former director of the Women's Center of Rhode Island and dealt with domestic violence and the after effects on families and especially on children. And he wanted to change it.
Okay, that was the same thing. Yeah, that's a bad habit. I don't know what's going on there with that, but
and others. Since I was on the radio with you last week, I've had several calls about this. I'm not free to mention names.
Others who feel like they've been abridged or prevented because they didn't say what was supposed to be, how he wanted to present.
Exactly.
Give me 15 seconds on how DC, and maybe you guys come back and talk to me about it. What about DCYF?
Well, DCYF, we have said it needs to be accredited. And that's a process of internal study with outside experts. And it's like building character.
That's a national accreditation?
There's a national accreditation.
Is Massachusetts and Connecticut agencies
they
accredited?
Are. And they finally have put funding into the budget this year after this scandal to accredit DCYF.
All right. More details on that when they're available. Come on back, and we won't have a debate on Providence education to get in the way. Always appreciate you. Miss you. Phil West, former Executive Director of Common Cause. Final word when we come back. Honestly, the status quo stuff that goes on around here is unbelievable. Oh, well, you can't do this and you can't do that, and the guy can't resign, blah, 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 blah. I just don't know where the accountability ever really comes in public life around here. You name me the last example of real public accountability for failure. You think about that. You score that at home. Dan McGowan, now on the Boston Globe side, covers this and the city of Providence, meaning education. He will be here tomorrow night. Talk to you on the radio at 3 on WPRO. Thanks for tuning in.